My name is Dr. Christopher Hartnick, and I wanted to talk to you today about subglottic stenosis, and for your children who have tracheostomy and subglottic stenosis, and to describe to you what the surgery will entail in order to get the tracheostomy tube out. So if we look over here, imagine that this is the picture of your child's airway, and what we're looking here is a narrowing. Stenosis means narrowing, and this narrowing is taking place just below the vocal cords, which is called your glottis. So subglottis is where this narrowing is, which is why the tracheostomy needs to be there. We categorize the stenosis from either wide open to fully blocked in a percentage of how blocked it is. But the most important thing for us is how close it is to the vocal cords. If the scarring is right next to the vocal cords, then we can't expand. We can't simply cut out the scar, but we're going to have to use a rib graft and expand. If it's further away from the vocal cords, we may simply be able to cut that scar out and put the two ends back together again. Most of the time, though, the scar is right near the vocal cord, so that we have to think about some form of expansion surgery. And this is a picture of the airway that we're opening. The green is where we take your child's own rib and we carve it into the shape of the airway, and then we make the airway larger. These are pictures that are just there to show what it looks like to open up your child's airway, and take a lot of care that these are the children's vocal cords, not to injure them, so they can speak later on down the line. And then we're using the child's rib to carve it into the airway, in the back of the airway and the front of the airway, in order to make the airway larger. One of the questions that we'll be going through is, how do we do this, and how long will your child need to be asleep? Your children need to be asleep for anywhere from 1 day to 7 days, and need to be in the hospital from anywhere from 1 week to 2 weeks, depending upon how long it takes for the grafts to heal. Much like when you break your arm, we use a cast so that the arm stays stable until the grafts are in place, or until your arm has healed. These procedures, and the words we'll be going over when we talk, are called single, double, and 1.5 stage reconstructions. And that depends upon whether or not we take the trach out at the time of the surgery, or whether or not we use certain kinds of stents, and we'll be talking about that. The short answer is single stage reconstructions. We take the trach out at the time of the surgery, and for 1 and 1.5 stage reconstructions, we leave the trach in until the child is safe, and we know and we can prove that. So that's the essence, and we'll talk more when we meet individually.